Google is secretly building an AI agent called Remy. And if you're using OpenClaw right now or thinking about it, you need to understand what this means. This isn't a rumor, by the way. Business Insider have got their hands on an internal document. Two people inside Google already confirmed it. And Remy is being tested by Google employees right now inside a staff only version of the Gemini app. So the internal description actually reads as Remy is your 24/7 personal agent for work, school, and daily life powered by Gemini. Right. So basically, what this is an AI agent that's kind of like OpenClaw. It runs 24/7, so it can take actions on your behalf. Employees are already testing the tool, so this is coming. I would expect it to get announced at the upcoming Google I/O event that's coming out very shortly. And essentially, this is almost word for word what OpenClaw actually does. So the question everyone's asking right now is, does Remy match up to OpenClaw? Is it an OpenClaw alternative? When's it coming out? Let's talk about this. So number one, this is supposed to be deeply integrated across Google. So essentially what that means is like I can imagine inside the whole ecosystem, they'll be using this new tool, right? This is coming very soon. So essentially, there is no timeline as well, but the document describes Remy as a dog fooding project, which is basically like a way that tech companies test stuff with employees before launching it out to people. So if it's already being tested with employees, I would expect it to come very soon. And also bear in mind, like their IO event, which is coming in May. So that's just like, a week or two away. This is expected to be announced, right? Agents are going to be huge at this event. It was the same at NVIDIA's event recently. Like agents were massive right there. And Google DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis has long talked about his vision, right? So he's been talking about building a digital assistant for quite a while. So you might also be wondering, okay, where does the idea of Remy come from, right? Well, it has origins to the Latin word remigus, which means oarsman or rower, right? Which makes sense because, you've got this agent doing all the work, all the grinding for, people who use it. And also bear in mind, like most people are not technical enough to use OpenClaw right now, which is pretty interesting because, most people, they're not going to set up Hermes agent. They're not going to set up OpenClaw. They're not going to be going onto GitHub and using terminal. 99% of people aren't going to do that, right? But if there's just something where you go into Google and there's an AI agent ready to go, of course people are going to use that, right? Because it's such a hype thing right now. People are super interested. Also, bear in mind that Google have been rolling out their own AI agent mode if you haven't seen that before. And also bear in mind that OpenClaw and OpenAI just started working together recently, right? They hired Peter Steinberger to work with them. So there's some really exciting stuff coming from this. Even if it's not as powerful as OpenClaw, bear in mind, like if it just gets adopted more than most people, used more than OpenClaw, then this is something that could literally change the world. So let me give a full picture of what Google is building here, right? Remy isn't just a chatbot upgrade. It's Google's attempt to move Gemini from a thing that you just talk to a thing that actually does stuff for you, right? Right now, Gemini, it sits in the browser. It can sit in your desktop app. It can ask a question. You can ask it a question. It answers. And you pretty much just go back and forth right there, right? Now, they did launch something that was supposed to be an AI agent, but honestly, when I tested it, it was pretty bad, right? That was something that was released last year. So according to these internal documents, it can take actions on your behalf and integrate it with a range of Google services, right? So automatically it's going to link to Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, Google Docs, all of it. And also bear in mind as well, this is a lot safer than, for example, using an open source project like, for example, OpenClaw, right? All the security issues around that were a big problem with OpenClaw. Whereas, for example, if you can just use this and it works straight out of the box, it's sandboxed, it's got safety features built in, and it's Google approved, I think people are going to trust that a lot more and use it a lot more and actually use it with their emails and stuff, which people are actually scared to do right now with OpenClaw. And bear in mind as well, Google I/O is coming up this month, so that's May 2026. This is where Google shows off its biggest products every year. People expect something like Remy or, something very close to it already, and so this all makes sense. And this may be like the most useful thing that Google have actually ever built when it comes to AI, right? Because if it's just like basically another version of ChatGPT, not that useful, right? Yes, it can generate videos and images, but it's not going to change the world. And most people I know are not using something like Gemini, right? But it will be most useful when you're already inside Google's world and you've got an AI agent to bring everything together, right? Gmail, Drive, Calendar, that's the ecosystem this is all designed. Bear in mind that Google actually just released personal intelligence as well, which has a great memory for you, right? It remembers everything. It looks at all your docs, your Google Drive. You can connect literally everything into it. And so with that feature, you don't have all the problems that you have with something like OpenClaw, where you literally have to create like a database of yourself and all your data and all your personal stuff, and then connect it to an AI agent that's known to go off on random tangents and do crazy stuff, aka OpenClaw, right? And so if you've got this amazing context and this amazing memory from personal intelligence inside Google, combined with the ecosystem from Google, and then also you've got an AI agent that's just as powerful but safer, like OpenClaw, then all of a sudden you've got something that's way more attractive for the masses, right? For most people, like probably me and you watching this, for most people, they're not in that world, right? They don't understand what Hermes is or OpenClaw is or anything like that. They just want something that can do stuff for them. And so the simpler this is and the easier it is to use, the better it's going to be and the bigger it's going to be in terms of volume. And obviously, Google has scale that OpenClaw will never touch. Hundreds of millions of people use Gemini. When Remy goes public, it's going to get a lot of attention fast. There will be people who try it. Some will like it, some will switch. But the business operators, the business owners, etc., they're not going to abandon OpenClaw, right? Just because Google released a shiny object. However, for the masses, that's what it's all about, right? Also, the interesting thing here is like whether it can actually go outside of Google's ecosystem. So, for example, you know, the reporting says that it can integrate with Google services, but can it go outside Google? Can it talk to Slack? Can it send a WhatsApp message? Can it monitor a third-party website? Those sort of answers will tell us whether it's more useful than something like OpenClaw and whether it's an actual better system. Bear in mind as well, like potentially this could run offline because you've got some of the best local models in the world are coming out from Google. Like, for example, they just released a Gemma 4 update yesterday for their local model, which is super fast, free, and runs on devices. So if you've got an AI agent that runs offline as well with Google's ecosystem, that's going to be insane. Now, if you haven't seen it already, Google actually predicted this last year, right? They said AI agents will transform the way we work in 2026, and we can sort of see that coming, right? This relates to it directly. So, you know, Google, they were talking about how basically next year AI agents will fundamentally reshape business. They wrote this in December 2025. And so it kind of coincides with what they're talking about. So, for example, AI agents will help everyone be more productive. Agent workflows will become a core part of business processes. Agents will bring five-star experiences for everyone, right? These are all new things. I mean, the security operations as well. We've all seen that with OpenClaw. So everything that Google was already predicting is kind of there. And I would expect a big announcement about Remy. So let's see what happens at their Google I/O event, but this could be really, really interesting. Also, one thing to note is there's no confirmed detail on whether Remy has background operation, right? So scheduled tasks, memory persistence, although I'd expect that with personal intelligence, or third-party integrations outside of Google. So those are the questions that actually matter, especially when you're comparing this to something like OpenClaw. We don't know yet, but I would be watching I/O very carefully. So just to recap, here's what we know about Remy. It's an internal code name only. It has no public name yet. It's running inside a staff-only build of the Gemini app right now. Internal documents describe it as a 24/7 personal agent for work, school, and daily life. It's designed to take actions on your behalf, not just answer questions. Integrates with Google services. There's 2 sources plus 1 internal document confirmed to Business Insider. Google officially actually declined to comment. And also, Intel has publicly cited OpenClaw style agentic apps as a reason CPU demand is rising. So even chip companies are watching this space, which is pretty interesting. We've seen that with OpenClaw and NemoClaw from NVIDIA. Like they have literally released OpenClaw with NemoClaw inside the NVIDIA ecosystem and then open sourced it to the public. So even like chip companies get involved in this. So thanks so much for watching. If you want to get more trainings on how to use AI agents, actually implement them into your business instead of watching videos about them and get results with AI agents, feel free to join the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description, or just go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. This is my AI automation community with 3,000 business owners in here. So you can ask questions, get help and support. You can jump on weekly coaching calls. You can get all of my best trainings inside the classroom. We actually do new daily and advanced tutorials inside there too. And then inside the map too, you can meet people in your local city who are using AI agents for business automation, for saving time, for scaling, and for increasing profits. So feel free to get that link in the comments description, or just go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. Thanks for watching.